Everyone, a big thank you for joining us on our weekly coaching call. We are going to get started in the next 30 to 60 seconds. Just a reminder, if you are passing for me, we are going to talk a little bit at the beginning as well, just about a couple of quick topics, and then I'm going to hand it all over to you guys to ask the questions, and we will get started. So, guys, if you can start dropping your questions again into the school platform, and we will get through those questions for you as best as we can today. A big thank you for joining us on our new platform, and we hope everyone enjoys it, and we'll get back to you in the next few seconds. Hi everyone, I hope you're well. A big thank you for joining us and for joining us for the first time on YouTube, Facebook, and also TikTok. If you are new to the Raymond Wood or to Go to Elite, this is our weekly coaching call that we do with all of our players who are on our program. My name is Raymond Wood. I'm one of the highest qualified coaches under UEFA, also a player agent, and I love working with players all around the world. A big thank you for all of our players who are currently joining us for the stream as well, who are working with us on the pro player pathway. So, just a reminder, guys, this one works a little bit different tonight. This is all going to be recorded at the end as well. So, you're watching it live now. Again, it will be recorded and it will be dropped into the school platform. So, anyone who's not able to join the live, you're obviously going to be watching this back on a recording. And one of the big things that we're asking for is via the school platform. For anyone who is on our full-time program, if you've got any questions for this evening, please, please, please drop those questions into the school platform. Also, in the event there's ever any issues, maybe there's an issue with the link or the audio, again, I am on the school platform constantly getting the messages on my phone as we work through. So a big thank you for joining us. So it's obviously going to look a little bit more different on here. What we're going to try and do is as well, we're trying to give you guys a little bit more exposure through the world of sponsors. And I just wanted to make it look and feel a little bit more professional. And I think you'll see with some of the screens that you've seen, we've got our advertisements coming through on the screens, which is pretty cool. Also, we're going to give an opportunity as well for mums and dads out there and some of our families who are on the full-time program. We're going to give you guys some opportunities to actually give your shout outs to your local businesses as well for free. So if you are a member of our Pro Player Pathway program, if you've got any businesses, whether you're in Australia, the USA, the UK, Europe, wherever you are, we'd love to help you guys as you help us grow, and we'd love to give you guys a bit of a pump as well. So you can, guys, drop in questions uh, via the YouTube or via Facebook. But just to be safe, I would always drop them in the school platform as well, because I'm not 100% sure if everyone's got the capability to ask the questions within the school platform. But I will try my best to grab them. But again, if you put them into school, we will get them. So a couple of updates for our full-time players and also a little bit of an update. So just a couple of things, and we will speak more in the school platform about this because this is not really the time or the place, but I just sort of give you the quick update. So unfortunately, the December camp that we were going to host in Brisbane has had to be cancelled. So if that causes any problems for anyone on the program, feel free to reach out to me individually on the school platform tonight or tomorrow, and I'll get you in touch with my team and we'll work that out for you. Also, we have announced about the trials that we're doing to the UK and Europe next year in April. We have got an opportunity to announce all of the flights now, and we've got the dates locked in. So those dates are 99.9% locked in. They're secured. Flights are secured on those dates. As with anything, it can change sometimes, but we haven't had flights change on us yet, touch wood. Uh, we will come back on or before the 8th of December with our provisional itinerary, and everyone who's looking forward to come to join us in England. We are super, super excited to be taking all of the players on the trials and on the tour. Just some of the highlights for the trials very quickly. We'll be going to places like Liverpool, Manchester, London, visiting some of the biggest Premier League clubs and arranging some games against some of the top teams. And I think that's it in relation to updates. We're going to get straight into the coaching call. So for anyone who's joining us on the live stream, you don't know, hi, I'm Raymond Wood. Well, my web address is up there. You can actually have a little look at my page. You'll see from time to time in between the intermissions, my website will load on there and it'll give you an idea of what the website looks like. But basically, I'm a player progression specialist. So whether you're 6 years of age and you need help with your football or your soccer, or you're an aspiring professional and you're 20 years of age, I am the guy to help you with your journey. Also, we're very fortunate to be sponsored by Goats as well, who sponsored a lot of our full-time players. Again, our website is up on there. You can see it above as well for our partners, which is goatselite.com. Now, what we're going to do is every coaching call, we've gone from doing monthly coaching calls, so now we do weekly coaching calls. And I've got the best news ever. From January the 1st, 2026, we're going to be going to two live coaching calls a week. That's right, two coaching calls a week. We're going to look to do Tuesday, again around this time slot, 7 p.m., Brisbane time, Australia. This works in with our Australian and New Zealand families, and also it works in line with our families who are in the UK and Europe because it's their morning time. Also, we do one on a Saturday morning at around 10 a.m. Brisbane time, which is late in the evening in the UK, and it's mid-afternoon in the US West Coast, and earlier again, sorry, in the East Coast, and earlier again on the West Coast. So we're trying our best to fit all of our players in. Again, whether you're an aspiring player, you've just started to play, but we work with all of the players. So big thank you for everyone joining us. Now, I haven't got any questions on our school platform, and I think we might have a question coming in on our YouTube, and it is from one of our players. So we'll answer this one. So this one is from Darren. Darren's asked me, will I be any chance be on the Gold Coast in January for the futsal international competition? Yes, I am planning to be there. However, I've just got to cross-reference the dates. Darren, if you could just drop them dates in the chat here for me on YouTube, just to remind me again, because I am actually going to be in Philadelphia at the US Coaches Conference as one of the main speakers. So I need to just check on those dates. So again, everyone who's on our platform, guys, if you can drop questions into the school platform, I'd love to help you with some of the questions that you've got, and I'll try and help you with some of the answers as best as I can. One of the interesting ones I wanted to share with you today, and I'll share it back in the notes. If anyone follows the Premier League, and there's a couple of really, really talented players with a lot of the clubs in the UK, but it looks like there's going to be a player who's on the move in January, and I had it on good grounds today. I'll share a little bit of my agent background, but speaking to someone who knows the player really well, but it looks like there's another player on the move to Liverpool, and Semenyo is the player. It looks like he's going to be moving for 65 million pounds, which is, I think, for Semenyo, is a bargain. The big problem, if anyone doesn't know why Liverpool have got a problem with the strikers, Mohamed Salah goes off to the African Cup of Nations for nearly 8 weeks across December and January and a bit of February. So we're going to lose Salah for a considerable amount of time. Egypt are one of the strongest teams in the African Cup of Nations, so they're likely to go further into the competition. Now, the reason why I'm talking about Semenyo, obviously, most of you will know me. You know I'm a Liverpool fan, but this is not a Liverpool show, guys. It's about helping you guys, but this is super important. Now, I'm not going to put it up on the screen because I want you guys to have a little look and make a note of this. And I want you to go and have a research later on. But if you go to the BBC website, you'll actually see today on the BBC Sport website, it gives you the story in the background about Semenyo and about his release clause. So he's just signed a 5-year deal with Bournemouth, which means in January he can leave for 65 million pounds if anyone activates that clause. Now, the reason why this is really, really important for all of my players on the programme, a lot of the players who've worked with me as a coach and as an agent, we've had players who've gone on to sign for Liverpool. They've gone on to sign for Manchester City, Bolton Wanderers, Paris Saint-Germain. You know some of the caliber of the players that I've worked with and some of the youngsters who we've turned into superstars who are now on some of these great contracts and top of academies. But I've also spoken to you in the past as well about the fact that you might not be able to go to a full-time club and an academy. You may need to go to a private academy every now and again. Now, the reason why this is so important, and especially around the story of Semenyo, if you just Google Semenyo and have a look at his background, and if you go to the article, which I'm going to share in our school platform later on for all of our full-time players and families, you'll actually read in the full-time article that Semenyo, when he was younger, he was rejected by Arsenal. He was rejected by Tottenham Hotspur. And no disrespect to Millwall, but Millwall play in the third tier of football in England. Millwall rejected him as well. So most players probably would have given up on the journey at that point. But Semenyo and his family didn't. He got an opportunity. And this is a real interesting one I really, really want to share with you. He got offered an opportunity to go to a private academy in Bristol. And the private academy is called the SGS Academy. And it's called the SGS College in Bristol. And you can search these guys up, and they are similar to like what we have in, say, Australia. We call it TAFE. In England, it's a college, and it's for like year 11, 12, and 13 type students. And what it does is it matches up education with sport and with football. So the idea is if football doesn't work out for you and you don't make it as a professional, well, you've got your education behind it. Now, there's a lot of people who comment on our socials and say, oh, going to private academies, it's just a scam. You're just trying to get $20,000 out of the parents. And it's like, no, no, no. That's not true. It is true in some cases. Like for those who go through other companies to get opportunities for trials, I am yet to see one that I would endorse and recommend. And that's not being biased towards me and the Raymond Wood. But if anyone follows our program, you will know I will not send anyone on trials or to opportunities unless you are doing your objectives, you are following your GPS data, you're doing your tracking work, you're doing your football blueprints, you do your DNA test for your nutritional, because I don't want to send you for an opportunity and I don't even know if you're going to make it or not. I want to make sure we cross the T's and dots the I's. Now, the point I'm getting to with this one, Semenyo didn't get an opportunity to play for one of the big clubs when he was younger, and his only opportunity at 15, 16 was to go to SGS College. Now, if he would have listened, and his mum and dad, I know this for a fact because I know the backstory, they were told not to go down this route because it was basically a money scam. Don't go to one of these private academies. You're not going to get what you're going to get. I'm going to tell you something. If you go into life with an attitude like that, you are pretty much going to be right. Whether you say you can or you can't, you're always going to be right. If you go in with a positive attitude to any environment and try and drain everything out as you can as a maximum. And what I mean by that is when you turn up to, say, these private academies, you should be doing the same whether you're at a pro club or a private academy. Turn up 15, 20 minutes early. Ask the coaches, do you need help? Always be positive. Don't let other people put you down. And it's always quite interesting that other people love to comment on what other people are doing. But when you look inside their lives, they're not willing to give anything a go or give anything a risk. Guys, we live on this planet once. Somebody here wants to live on this planet, and you need to make sure you grab it with two hands. Now, thankfully, Semenyo's father set up the opportunity for him to go to SGS College in Bristol. Now, if anyone understands England, and again, no disrespect to Bristol, but Bristol's not the hot hub of professional football as it's been known. You would think it's Arsenal or Liverpool or Manchester City or Manchester United or Chelsea. But thank God he didn't listen and he sent his son to the private college. Now, roll on 7, 8 years later. Semenyo was going to become one of the most expensive signings in Premier League history, and he's going to leave the club for £65 million. Now, do you think Bournemouth think that was a bad idea? That Semenyo come through an unconventional way of going through a private academy? I don't think so because they're now going to earn £65 million for that. And can you imagine the knock-on effect it has in not only Semenyo's life, because his background and his family are from Ghana originally? Can you imagine how it's going to change their lives? So the whole point I'm getting to with this is don't listen to other people. Also, what I am saying is if you've got an opportunity to go to a private academy, they can be expensive because you've got accommodation, you've got food, you've got insurance, you need kit, you need equipment. It's not like you're signing for Liverpool and they're going to give you all of this for free because, again, I have got players to Liverpool, to Bolton, to Manchester City, to some of the biggest clubs. And when you go to the big clubs, you don't pay. It's all paid for. But this is the difference. But also, I want to make it as well to families and that don't think that you should be going into debt for these opportunities. Don't cripple yourself. But also through places like Goats Elite, and we're going to find out more about Goats Elite over the coming months, is that they're going to be sponsoring some of our players for opportunities like this. And every single bit of revenue that we earn on Goats, we are pumping it back into our players because I believe in our players. I've been very fortunate to work in the world game of football and work for some of the biggest football clubs in the Premier League in France and Spain. I've been an agent now for many, many years, and I've been so fortunate to work in the game. I come from humble beginnings in Anfield and Liverpool when I was younger, and I just want to give back. And that's the whole reason I'm doing it, is to give back. So we are going to have opportunities through both of these platforms above me head, Go to Elite and the Raymond Woods, to get players sponsored and to help players financially. That is the big vision and the big dream. So if you are one of our members and you are following us, guys, I'm asking everyone to share around as much as you can. The Goats Elite website. It is super important that we get it shared around because the more revenue we raise, the more we're going to put back in to the Raymonds Woods and the professional player pathway to help open up these programs. So I will share that story with all of our full-time members on the school platform about Semenyo, but it's a really interesting read. It's only probably about a 5 to 7 minute read on the BBC website, and it is highly recommended because it shows you private academy, professional academy, you're not guaranteed to make it anywhere, no matter where you go. But I'm a big believer in consistency and hard work. And if you've got a positive attitude and a never say never attitude, you will make it in anything you want to do in life. Now, I'm going to get back to the questions, and I'm hoping I've got some questions in school because I've asked all of my players who are currently online with us to drop in some questions. So there's still no questions in there, but I'm going to have a little look in here. So Darren got back to us. So it's the 19th to the 24th of January. Thomas is going to be playing. Yeah, I will be down. I get back from the USA on the 18th and 19th of January. So the plan will be I will be going down to come and watch any of my players who are going to be partaking in their competition. And also for anyone who is participating down there, remember, I am a scout and I am an agent, and I always love to look at players. But one of the big things is I flip it upside down. I don't promise to get you trials to clubs and take you over within a week. If I think you're amazing or I think you need work doing, when you come on our program, regardless of where you're at and how good you are or how bad you are, I will always put you through my program first because I need to check everything is on point. So that's great. I really appreciate you sending me them dates. I can't wait to come and see Thomas, and hopefully Thomas is still playing in the latter part of the competition. Uh, Alex Alves, great. We've got a question from one of our players. This is fantastic. What's the most important thing a young player can do right now to make themselves stand out to the top academies? So, a couple of things you can do. That's a great question. There's a couple of things. There's about 6 or 7 parts, and it's basically the pillars to our professional player pathway. But one of them is knowing how many hours a week you should be doing, because I think you've got to start with a foundation or a base. You've got to start somewhere. So you need to know where you should be starting. So the first thing I would look at fundamentally is looking at your hours. Now, everyone who's on my program, you know that basically the fundamental foundation is the plus 130. So if you're 9 years of age, you need to be doing 10 hours a week. If you are 15, you need to do 16 hours a week. And then obviously when you get to 16, it stops. So that's one of the pillars is your how many hours a week. I think one of the other things, and it's the thing that I always stick to, and it goes down to Semenyo going to this private academy in England. And I've seen players like this make it every year. And people go, they're just lucky. No, they're not lucky. Now, the thing with Semenyo, he knows there was a lot on the line. His family are relying on him, his mum and dad and his siblings are relying on him. There was a lot of money spent to send him to the private academy. Like the money that probably would have been spent to get him there would have been enough for his whole family to probably live on in Ghana, probably for 5 or 6 years. So it shows you the commitment, but through a multitude of family members and friends and sponsors, similar to the likes of Goats Elite that we've got on the top page, uh, it was made possible. So consistency and hard work. I'm going to give you a little story, Alex, and I don't think I've ever shared this one with my players, but I'll give you an example of one of the tests that we used to do when I worked in the Premier League. One of the challenges we used to really mark players up for, so we'd basically give them extra marks on the progression report and we'd actually keep them on the following year. It wasn't how good they were off the pitch or even how good their attitude was on the pitch. It was all measured on their attitude off the pitch. And I'll give you an example. I worked with two players when I was at Leicester City. And this was one lesson I learned from John Rudkin, who was the director of football, and he's still at Leicester City. And John's wealth of knowledge and his assistant at the time, Paul Cheney, was just unreal. Like what they knew and didn't know between them. Paul had an education background, John had a very heavily football background and merged together. And they were teaching me the lessons when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, working at Leicester City about attitude off the park as everything. It was compulsory that players, if they arrived early or late, they always had to come up to the coaches, and the first thing they had to do was a nice handshake. But the lesson also that I learned when I was younger from my granddad, and it actually carried into the football world, it's okay running up and giving someone a handshake, but giving that person a firm handshake and saying, hello, how are you? Before I start training, can I help you with anything? And Alex, I'm going to tell you now, that was one of the defining key things on players being kept on. And I'm going to share something with you because, and I don't think he'll mind me sharing it, but we had a player called Luke Thomas at Leicester City, and he's in the first team, and he's played at Middlesbrough as well. He's played in the Premier League. He's represented England at under 21s and under 19s, I think, or under 18s. Luke's had an amazing career to date. There was a couple of years there where Luke probably wouldn't have been kept on. But the one thing that was his saving grace, he had he had a left foot. His right foot was questionable. He was very small in stature, physically struggled. But there was two things about Luke Thomas that made him as a player: his attitude, like his upbringing, the way his mum and dad brought him up. Every training session, he would walk up to you and he'd say, "Hey, Coach Ray, how are you?" Now, we'd see these players 5, 6 times a week. Every single day, shake your hands, give you a smile. Do you need help with anything, Coach Ray? No, Luke, we're all good. And then off he'd go and he'd get his boots on and he'd get ready for training. The thing that saved Luke when he was younger, and I know this for a fact, is his attitude off the park because we knew that was going to be the difference if we could make it or not. The amount of talented players I see in a Premier League level when I was coaching not make it, who were the most talented players, at 13, 14, and 15 is because the attitude off the park was all wrong. So, Alex, I love that question, mate. That's an amazing question. And for anyone who is on our school platform on the full-time program, we will share all of these links and bits of information to you. And the reason why we're doing that is we want everyone in the world of football to be part of this weekly call or the two weekly calls we do. But obviously, the guys who are on the program, you get that little bit of extra special attention and you get access to me behind the scenes on the platform as well. So I'm going to have a little look. Next question. So next one is Taylor. Taylor and Kay's posted a question. Let me have a look. Let's see if I can see this. So a little couple of questions. A great one we've had in from Sean Y. I'll answer this one. So we do have trials coming up in December on the, don't quote me on this, I think it's the 6th and 7th of December is in Sydney and Melbourne. And on the 13th of December is in Brisbane. Now, the one in Brisbane, we've actually made it a later one. It's 5 till 7 in the evening, quite simply because we know there's a lot of things like Christmas shopping going on and there's summer leagues going in the mornings. And it's quite hot in the morning in Brisbane, so we've made that 5 o'clock. So one of the questions we got from Sean, will it be the same as previous, the five testing stations? It will be similar for about 70% of it, but we've got two new testing protocols. So for anyone who hasn't been, we do something called objective testing, which is our trials. Now, the reason why we host the trials is to look at players to consider for me to work with them both as a coach and also as an agent. But also, we have opportunities to join us on the professional player pathway program. And one of the other things as well is to actually join us for trials to the UK and Europe. So if you're watching this live or you're watching this back on a recording, and this is something that you'd really, really be interested in, finding out more, the best way to go about it, guys, if you go to the raymondswood.com, and you'll notice when you go to the Raymond's Wood, I'll load it up for you. If you have a little look at our screen, you'll see the top right, there's a contact form. If you hit that contact form for me, fill it out, just give a little explanation on what you need help with. If it's maybe you want to join us on a trial, it might be that you want some help with your football. Maybe got an opportunity to go on trials to the UK or Europe. Maybe you want to go to college in the USA. If you go to my website, theraymondswood.com, and on the top right, you will see the contact button. Hit the contact button, and I will more than happily help you out with that one. So to answer your question, Sean, we'll basically we'll be doing similar stations. There's five of the stations are the same, but there's two changes and there's an added extra that we're going to do at the end, which is going to be interesting. Now, for anyone who is looking and considering joining us for our trials in December, whether you're in Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane, you are allowed to travel from anywhere to come to the trials. You could. We've got players coming from New Zealand. We've got players coming in from Perth who are coming in for the weekend up to Brisbane as a bit of a Christmas treat. Anyone's allowed to join. It's for girls and boys aged 7 years of age all the way through to 19. If you're 20, we may consider you, but it's application only for you guys. So you can sign up and join for the trials. Also, one of the big things as well, when you sign up for the trials, there is a cost for signing up. It's 99 Australian dollars. So cheap as chips to come and join us. But also, Goats are going to sponsor every player. So for everyone who joins us on the trials, you're actually going to get a $250 prize pack from Goats, which actually contains the grip socks, the shin guards, and also you get a copy of my book as well, which is pretty fantastic. And again, if anyone wants to join us, you're more than welcome to. So I'm just going through some more of the questions. Taylor, regarding the scanning objective, if you are playing as a fullback, does the look over both shoulders still apply in the wide area? If I'm playing as a right back, I check over my right shoulder and see down the line. If I check over my left shoulder, all I see is the sideline. So this is a great question, Taylor. So the answer, and I'll explain for everyone who's not familiar with our program, but our players who are on the professional player pathway program working with me, I'm the coach and I'm also the players' agents. we look at the different foundations that they have to work on in games, and one of them is scanning. So, for anyone who doesn't know what scanning is, quite simply, when the ball's coming into you, you need to scan one shoulder, scan two, and you're looking to see if anyone's coming in behind. You're looking to see maybe that's a space I can turn into. So, Taylor's saying as a fullback, whether as a left or a right back, surely I only need to scan on one side. No, you need to scan both sides still. Quite simply because, and I'm going to share a video to this in the school platform again to you, Taylor. So I'm going to reshare a video that we done a couple of weeks ago on this particular topic. Now, there's two elements and there's two transition moments. One of the transition moments is when you're actually in possession. So your team's in what we call BP, ball possession. You should be high and wide, and you should be on what we call you should be getting white on your boots. So you should be able to be side on. Over that side, you're looking across and you can see your goalkeeper in your goal. And over that side, you're looking across and you're seeing the opposition goalkeeper in goal. So if you're in possession, your team's in possession, but you're not, you should be high and wide, getting white on your boots, and you should be looking left because that's where your goalkeeper is and your goal is, and looking to the right and you're looking at the opposition. And you should be constantly scanning, even when you're on the sideline, scanning in behind you, because I'm telling you now, the amount of times over the years I've seen goalkeepers not scan both sides and they've put the ball down on the floor. You've all seen the videos, and the player runs in and takes the ball. It's exactly the same as a fullback. Also, there's a reason why. Now, this goes back to the question we got from Alex Alves. What are some of the things that help you make it as a player? It's consistency and hard work and basically not being lazy. Now, for me, if you're playing centre mid and you're scanning both sides, you can go, yeah, they've got to do that because that's the position. But I'm a fullback. No, I'm only going to scan one shoulder. I don't need to do. You do need to do it quite simply because it's forming good habits. Now, it might only happen one in 10,000 times, but that one time you don't check the left shoulder, how do you not know there's a player who's moved all the way in between your centre backs and he's come in behind you? And you know the rule, no one's offside until they've received the ball or they're in an active position. Okay. Now, we don't know if your centre backs in a minute's notice, one of them's lost the plot and they've dropped 5 metres and they're playing the striker on. So, quite simply, Taylor, it's a great question and I love it. But when you're doing your objectives and when you're doing your scanning objectives and you're recording your scores within our platform, you need to be scanning left and you need to be scanning right all the time. Now, to lead on from that question a bit more, we need to do it before we receive the ball, before the ball comes into our space, when we're on the ball, and when we've sent the ball. And then when we transition into a new space to try and get the ball back, we need to scan as well. Scanning is a never ending task. It's hard. But if you want a top tip on how to make it as a professional, even as a goalkeeper, you do no wrong to look at a player called Paul Scholes. Paul Scholes, as many will know, played for Manchester United. His head looked like it was going to spin off. He would scan that much. And I hate admitting that as a Liverpool player, as a Liverpool fan. I'm working for Liverpool when I was younger. But Paul Scholes in his time, he had players like Xavi, Iniesta, Messi. They all talk about him in their books and they all get asked who is the greatest midfielder. And people come out with all these different names like Steven Gerrard and Gattuso, and they're rolling off all the famous names over the years. And everyone is always the first to admit the best midfielder of all time, for them and for me, is probably Paul Scholes. He won the Premier League, I think, 8 or 9 times. I think he won the Champions League a couple of times. He won everything in the game apart from a World Cup with England, which was a shame. But he was one of the best players. So, Taylor, again, great question. And if you want any examples on scanning, all you've got to do, you don't even need to type scanning. Just type in Paul Scholes highlight reel. Watch him before the ball comes. Watch him once he's sent the ball. His head looks like it's going to fall off. It's unbelievable. His neck muscles must have been unbelievable when he was playing. Great question, Taylor, and I love that one. Now, I'm just going to have a quick break just for 20 seconds, guys. We're just going to get a quick water, but stay where you are, and we're going to be back with you in a couple of seconds. Hi guys, I'm back. That was a quick drink of water. Thank you for that. Now, a couple of more questions we've got on here. One was from Owen Hayder in regards to the Brisbane camp. Yeah, so you're going to get an update from my office, but also if you haven't had anything within 24 hours, please let me know. Message me inside the school platform and I'll get you the update and I'll get you all the information sent across. And in the event you have paid the deposit or you paid, we'll get all that fixed up for you. No issues whatsoever. Now, a great question in from George Murphy. What should your fitness levels look like to be able to compete in England? For example, how many kilometers a game or how big a distance can you cover in a certain amount of time? That is a great question, George. I love that one. So, couple of things. As most of you will know, I really encourage all of our players on the program to do the beat test at least 2 to 3 times a week. So one of the base things you can do for your fitness and your foundation. But when we say fitness for football, we're not just talking about like lung capacity and you're able to run non-stop all day. The idea of the beep test as well, we've covered this before. The beep test wasn't designed to see how fit you were, and you get it done pre-season, one in the middle and one post, and hopefully you will see that your fitness has gone up. It was never ever designed for that. The reason why it was designed, it was actually designed to do it 2 to 3 times a week. And the reason why is it's one of the best tools to develop superstar football players. Now, there's two ways you can do the beep test. You can do the beep test, obviously, just you with a phone, put some jackets or cones down 20 meters apart. If you're on our Pro Player Pathway program, it's in the school platform. It gives you the video, the instructions, and what to do, and even access to the app for free. The other way you can do it, you can chuck a ball in. So you can actually make it relevant to football. So what you can do is you can do one beep test a week without the ball, record the score. Do one beep test a week with the ball and record the score. Then you've got two scores to try and beat every week. Now, I'm not going to give away too much of the secret sauce on the beep test because it's all included for our full-time members on the Pro Player Pathway. But if you want to hop in and you want to be considered to join me and work with me as a coach and as an agent, again, you can go to the raymondswood.com. And if you just leave us a little message on the website, you'll notice there's a contact button at the top. If you hit the contact button there, guys, I'll be more than happy to get back with you and consider you joining the platform to join me on the program. So one of the reasons why the beef test is so important is because you're working on acceleration. So you're building up fast twitch muscles, which are important. You're sprinting over a short distance, about 20 meters, which is very relevant to football. But the big thing and the big thing we discovered the most in the Premier League back in 2010, 2011, we see in a study of players who done 2 to 3 beep tests a week with the training against players who didn't do 2 to 3 beep tests a week. And we actually discovered something really interesting. And one of the things that was discovered when they done this study and research was that you're more likely to have an ACL injury or a leg injury if you don't do the beep test 2 to 3 times a week on top of your training, and the increased opportunity for getting an injury was up to about 40%, which is immense. Now, quite simply, is because when you're sprinting to the line to the end of the 20 meters, there's one thing that your body has to do, and it has to decelerate. You have to get good at stopping and turning. Now, at the beginning of the beep test, and anyone who's done the beep test, you'll know, you get the beep and you've got a long time and then you make it and then you've got a few seconds and then you get the beep and then you go again. As it gets faster, you've got less time. So not only have you got to get good at decelerating, you got to get good at decelerating on your left foot. One of the things we use to coach with players is decelerating on your right foot, then on your left foot. So you're building up that strength as you decelerate and you're putting all of your weight down on the left, then you get up the other end, put all the weight down on the right. So this is one of the most amazing things about the beep test. Now also, on top of that, you get an increased lung capacity, you get more oxygen in there, fast twitch fibers are building, slow twitch fibers are building. And this is one of the things that people go, slow twitch fibers? We don't want slow twitch fibers, you do. You need slow twitch fibers to then build fast twitch fibers on top. And the reason why slow twitch fibers are important is for that reason. Now, when you're starting off the beep test and you're going slow, you're building up them slow twitch fibers. The bigger base of slow twitch fibers you've got, the more fast twitch fibers you can build. So don't let anyone ever tell you that you can't work and get better at speed and deceleration. You can. So that's one of the big things on that one, George. I would say probably one of the other things in regards to kilometers, excluding goalkeepers, let's move goalkeepers to the side for the moment. But just to give you an idea of a senior goalkeeper, men's or women's, you'd expect a goalkeeper still to cover 3 to 5 kilometers in a game, even though they only stay inside the 18-yard box and they might come out every now and again, depending on the way the coach lines them up, if they play as a final defender or not. Again, that's to everyone's coach. As a player, I'll put it into three brackets for you. As a professional or as a senior adult player, you're looking for roughly around about 11 to 13 kilometers. And I would be looking for more 12 plus for my senior players. Even if you're playing semi pro, so let's say you're playing in Australia in the NPL or you're playing in the counties leagues in England, I would be looking for 11 to 12 Ks all day long. If you're in that bracket of sort of 14 to 18, I would still be looking for 10 plus Ks in a game. So that's based on that you're playing a 90-minute game. But if you're not and you're playing 80 minutes or 75, then work out your average, what you get for 75, and then take it up to 90 minutes and average your kilometers out, and you'll get a guesstimate. Now, for all the guys who are on our professional player pathway program full time with me, you guys all have GPS trackers through Stat Sports, one of our partners, and all of that data gets plumbed into our professional player pathway. So people always say, Ray, how can you work with players in England and in Australia and the USA? Because it's a remotely based program and it's all done through the power of the internet and our platform and our school platform on the app. So we're very, very lucky that we can work with players. And people have said as well, but that surely doesn't work. It does. We've got in excess of 20 players from places like New Zealand, Australia, the US who are now on pro contracts, living the dream in the UK and Europe. So it does work. So kilometres for the younger players, anyone who's that sort of 10 to 14, I would be saying we're looking for about 8 kilometres or more in a game. Now, again, if you're not playing 90 minutes in them age brackets, and you shouldn't be, if you're playing 60 minutes, this is where you can turn football into education and into math. So what you can do is you can actually have a look at what the average would be and then take it up based on a percentage. And if you're not sure how to do that, guys, I've got formulas within the school platform. But if you've got a mum and dad, most mums and dads are pretty good at math. They'll be able to work out if you're playing 60 minutes and you've got 6 kilometers, what would it be if I was to play 90 minutes and you've got to add on an additional 33% of your total score, and then you get a guesstimate of where you're at. So there are a couple of the ones on there, George. There's some great questions. Uh, Another little final one from George Murphy. Who would you say is the most complete midfielder in the world? If we're talking about past players, I think we've already said it. For me, probably Paul Scholes. Very close seconds, Steven Gerrard. Uh, Currently, I would say I like to look at young players, not players who are coming to the end of the career. But, and again, I'm not being biased because he's a Liverpool player, but I think probably one of the most complete players, and he's probably one of the most underestimated. And I think it's because he plays with Lionel Messi in the international team. I would say would be McAllister for Liverpool. He's won the Premier League. He's won the World Cup already. He's only 25, 26 years of age. And when he's on point, this guy is just unplayable. But he's one of these midfielders. He does a lot of the work that you don't see. He doesn't do the fancy work, he does all the dirty work. And one of the challenges I give you if you're a player, have a look at Alexi McAllister, look at him in some of the highlights for games for Argentina and for Liverpool, and also for when he used to play for Brighton as well, and look at some of the work he does off the ball. And I always say the sign of a good player is watching that player off the ball and what he does off the ball. And I used to love doing that when I worked in the Premier League. I can remember watching Harvey Barnes, watching Luke Thomas, some of these amazing players we had in our academies, but watching what they were doing off the ball. And that really told you a full story about players and what they were like. So great questions, George. Thank you. Now I'm looking, we've gotten a heap of questions coming into YouTube, and we've only got probably 5 to 10 minutes to go. So I'm going to just have a little look and have a quick read through the questions. I'm going to be back with you in about 20 seconds. I'm just going to have a quick squiz through the questions, get a quick bit of water, and we'll be back with you in a couple of seconds, guys. Hold where you are. Okay, guys, we're on our final section. We've got about 5 to 10 minutes to go. So I'm just going to read out one of the questions. A great question on YouTube. So, hi Ray, great to see you. Players play in age groups under 16s, then they move into under 18s or men's. Should clubs offer mentorship for players 17 and above? So when we say mentorship, I'm not quite sure fully understand what you mean by mentorship, but I think I sort of get an idea of where you're going with it, and I'll try my best to answer it now. This answer differs on where you're based. So if you're based in, say, the UK, then 100% all players are offered mentorship from the age of 6, 7, all the way through into senior football. And whether you're a Leicester City or Liverpool or Man City, all the way down to clubs like, say, Southport or clubs in tier 7 and 8, they all have welfare officers, they have player liaison officers. Some of the mentorship in there is unbelievable. Like we had to do things like child protection certificates, child welfare certificates, senior player certificates. So you're actually becoming not just a coach, but you're becoming a psychologist at one point. But I think they've realised now, in a lot of the clubs in the UK and Europe, this is actually a full-time job for people. So clubs like Chelsea's, Arsenal's, Man City's, they'll have 4 or 5 of these staff members on full-time pay, working just with the senior team. For me, mentorship is so important, and I hope I don't go down a little bit of a wrong tangent, Chris, on this one. But one of the really bad examples I've seen in my time when I first got to Leicester City in 2010. Uh, I seen there was a couple of ex-players who'd gone into coaching. It was really sad to see the route and the path they've gone down after football. Yeah, great, they're back coaching at the academies, but it was evident there was a lot of financial and money issues, drinking, and a few other things that have gone on. And I think those days it was really not really done really well. But I must admit, especially, and I know Leicester City, one of my previous clubs, they're one of the most progressive clubs. I'm talking 2010, 11. They implemented a lot of this programs and policies. And if you are at one of the category one academies in the likes of England, you're gonna be in full time. You're doing your school at the club, you're doing your football at the club, you're doing your education, your welfare. They're really, really well looked after. I think where we don't do a good job of it, if I'm really honest, is where I'm currently based in Australia and also in the USA. I think it could be done a hell of a lot better. And I think for me, Chris, I think mentorship should be done from the ages of 6, 7, and 8, and it should cover a whole host of things. Like one of the big things in the younger age groups as players struggle with is actually a lot of things is lost in communication. And what I mean by lost in communication, players think they've had a bad game and they've done something wrong, and they'll let that eat inside them for weeks and weeks and weeks. And that's one of the things that you can address. And it was one of the things that we done within the Premier League when I was at like Liverpool and Leicester City and the youth academies, is the feedback to the players and the parents on a constant basis was so important, and making sure that that communication stream was open. And one of the examples I can give you, what you determine as success all determines on the age of the player. So let's say you're working with younger players, 10, 11, 12. What does success mean to a 10 and 11, 12? Now, don't get me wrong. Everyone wants to win and everyone wants to score goals. And I'm not saying get rid of league tables. We should not, because they've got rid of that in Australia. And I think it's bonkers in the younger age groups. Players need to learn to win. Players need to learn to lose. And they need to learn to deal with upsets in the game. And part of that is seeing your team, bottom of the table, going, we've had 66 goals conceded against us this year, and we've only scored 8. There's a learning lesson in that. I went through it when I was younger, and we yo-yoed. Some years we'd go high, some years we'd go low, but you learn a lot from within it. But I think, what does winning look like in them age groups at the top academies in Europe and the UK? What winning looks like is, we spoke about one of our objectives before was scanning. So when we're talking about scanning, it's about looking over your shoulder in every opportunity before, during, and post receiving the ball. So one of the big things that you could do is say success for Luke Thomas at the time was he scanning at least 20 times or more in a game, because his percentage for scanning was about 70% at the time, and we needed him to be at 85. So what we deemed as opportunities to scan, he was only scanning about 70% of the time. So one of his many objectives, we give him the cards in the changing room and go, Luke, today you're working on scanning, and that's what success is for you. So that's a great way of setting up what success is and isn't. We don't want them to get carried away with the outcome all the time. Although the weekends is there for that in the game, We want them to get upset. We want them to cry. We want them to go through them emotions. It's normal to regulate them emotions. I think the biggest problem in society now is we try and wrap everyone in cotton buds and we don't want them to be upset. We don't want them to cry. And I think it's worse when it builds up inside. I think it's okay to get upset every now and again. So that's a great question. Hopefully that answers a little bit about the mentorship. Now, we've got time for probably one, maybe two more. So I'm just going to have a little look. So Alex Alves, Ray, recently I got 12 on my beep test, and I do that 3 times a week in the morning before my training. I know the 1+ rule for your age, but do I just have to be consistent to achieve my goal? So Alex, in regards to consistency for your beep test, if you're on 12, this is the challenge. Next time you go out and do a beep test, I want you to go to your maximum and try and get to 12.1. That's all. And when you get to 12.1, stop. Even if you've got more in the legs, stop. Just get to 12.1. Then the next morning, try to get to 12.2. And when you get to 12.2, stop. Even if you think you've got more than the tank, don't. It's consistency and progressive work. Now, there's going to be some mornings, Alex, and all of my players on the full-time program that you're not going to be able to get to 12.1. You might have had a stinker and you've got 10.6 and you're like, oh my, what have I done? Doesn't matter. You know your target for the next one is still 12.1 and you just keep going back consistently. Now, it might take you 3 months to get to 12.1. You've nailed 12, but for whatever reason, you might have just been on point that day. Your nutrition was right, your hydration was right, everything was on point, and you got to 12, but now you can't get to 12.1. You can't even get to 11. It's consistency, Alex. You just keep going. And that's why we just go in little small increments. In the Premier League, we called it bite-sized learning. Bite-sized learning off the pitch in the classrooms with your education and your teachers, and bite-sized learning in your physical, technical, tactical, and social elements. So bite-sized learning is the way to go. I love that question. Consistency. Last one. Hi Raymond, is all the soccer trackers, clothing and heart monitors available on the Apex app available in Australia? So if you're interested in getting StatSports GPS tracker, heart rate monitor, yeah, you can get it in the Australia store on StatSports and through StatSports Global. But guess what? If you come and message me on our school platform, we can probably make it about 30 to 40% cheaper. We've got an amazing deal with StatSports because we purchase in excess of well, hundreds of GPS trackers a year and heart rate monitors. So drop me a message in the school platform and I would love to help you out with that one. And yeah, we'll get you some discounts. Also, we've got Black Friday sales coming up at the moment. So we're probably even going to have further reductions on that one. I'm just going to have another look just within our school platform just to see if there's any more in here that need to be answered on our school platform. So I'll just see if I can find this one for you. But I think we've gone through all of the questions tonight. So look, guys, a big thank you for joining us tonight. Firstly, a big thank you to all the mums and dads and the players on our Professional Player Pathway full-time program who work with me, working towards making it as a pro, working with me as an agent, and working with us on how to make it. Again, couple of reminders. If you want to reach out to me and you're watching this on the live or you're watching it on a recording and you think, wow, I'd love to work with Ray, or I'd love Ray to work with my son or daughter, or at least to be considered. The best way to go for it, guys, is go to my website, and the website is above my name. So you'll notice I've got two web links. We've got Goats Elite, who's one of our sponsors, and we've got the RaymondsWood.com. If you go to the RaymondsWood.com, when you load that website, if you click on the contact button, you will see that you can contact me and drop me a message. Also, a big thank you again to Goats, one of our sponsors who are making it possible through sponsoring some of our players. We've got some special announcements about some of our players who are currently on the ground playing for Liverpool, Bolton Wanderers, and we've got a player over in Europe who are about to be announced to be sponsored by Goats for in excess of $5,000 a year, which is pretty scary stuff. So if you want to be considered to be sponsored again with the Goats Elite guys, Goats Elite is one of our products that we sell, and the reason why we sell them is to help make this possible, to put this stream together, and also to bring you all of this information. Again, anyone who's on the full-time program, I will drop in the links and this recording in the next hour, which is amazing. And I will get all of those BBC links to Semenyo and also a little bit of insider knowledge about Semenyo joining Liverpool in January. Also, guys, leave it in the comments as well what your thoughts are on the post about Semenyo going to Liverpool in January. And if you don't believe me, I called Ekatike 4 months before he signed for Liverpool. I called Alexander Isak 9 months before he signed for Liverpool. If you don't believe me, save this post. Come back to me in January the 15th and see if Semenyo signed for Liverpool or not. Exciting times, I think, for the Premier League because we get to keep Semenyo because there was rumours he might go to Spain. But I've had it on good authority. He is going to come to Liverpool. So big thank you guys from me, Raymond Wood, at the Raymond Wood and Go to Elite. And I look forward to seeing you on our next coaching call. Our next coaching call is a week on Saturday, and then we've got one 2 weeks today. Guys, keep up to date on our socials at the Raymond's Wood on TikTok, also on Facebook, and also on YouTube. And guys, I'm going to ask you one final thing. Can everyone please subscribe to this YouTube channel? It doesn't cost anything to hit the subscribe button. It will mean the world to me because the more people we get it out to, the more we can raise for our players to open up opportunities. And maybe you can be one of our sponsored players. And who knows, maybe you could be the next Semenyo in 5 to 10 years, signing for someone like Liverpool or Manchester City.